Good morning. Welcome into another episode of Bears Fan TV. Saturday morning edition, like always, a really fun episode planned. Jacob Infante is going to be joining us. The Bears, I'm going to say he's like the Bears go-to draft guy, I would say, like as far as Bears Twitter.
I'd agree.
He's director of media partnerships with Pro Football Sports. And so it's going to be a really fun episode. We're going to obviously pick his brain with the draft, but we want to talk about Caleb Williams. He's kind of been in the news. If you haven't heard, Fick, about the Iceman. We talked about the trademark. He trademarked it last week, and it kind of has blown up. Skip Bayless, the Spurs have talked about him, and they have been a little upset about him trademarking the Iceman, I guess, name. And so we talked about it last week. I had no problem with it. Obviously, a lot more people did than I thought they ever would. A lot of people came out of the woodworkings. It's who's the Spurs legend?
George Gervin.
That's right. They called him the Iceman.
Yeah, so his name used to. I learned it from the clip that his name was like Iceman Slim or something like that, and he basically was like, "Yeah, I don't really like that because I had like a negative connotation around mobsters." So his teammates started calling him Iceman. So, but again, I don't. They're making it seem like, and this shouldn't be a topic of discussion, but we have to talk about it. They're making it seem like Caleb gave him this nickname himself. He did not. It came from, I think it was Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer at that Giants game. I think it was the radio call, or it was one of the broadcasters that called him that. And then I'm pretty sure Luther Burden kind of started like bringing it up more and more, and then it became a thing. So is the nickname already been labeled to someone? Absolutely. Does that mean Caleb was like, "Oh no, you're going to start calling me this"? No, he didn't. And guess what? You didn't trademark it, so I don't know what else to tell you. You know, there's only so much you can do. But they're making a big deal out of something so minuscule. Which welcome to the internet.
Yeah, it's definitely blown up. I don't have a problem with it, and we'll go ahead and bring in Jacob Infante, of course. Yes. I kind of want to get his take on it. He's been a little bit more quieter on it, honestly. I saw his tweet yesterday. Jacob, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for having me, guys. How y'all doing?
Hey, good. Absolutely, man. Thank you for hopping on. I know you're a busy guy, especially. I mean, it's about to be April, so you're going to be just super booked. But thank you again, sir. Pro Football or PFSN Director of Media Partnerships. I want to start there. I know we kind of talked about the draft. We want to talk about the Iceman, trademark. But how's that transition been, man? Has it been fun?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of fun, honestly. So I've been, writing in like some capacity for PFSN for the last year, but, transitioning into the new role, it's been a lot of fun, a lot of, new experiences and stuff like that. But I'm loving it. It's a great group of people over at PFSN. So it's been, it's been pretty sweet. We've got some fun stuff planned for the draft. So, yeah, I mean, I can't complain right now, honestly. Things are solid.
Yeah. So you have been writing for them for a while. Is April the busiest time for you, or is it kind of slow down? Like, obviously you're preparing all the way up until about April. Is it slowing down for you? Or is it really just ramping up? What does that look like as far as like kind of a draft analyst? Kind of put us in your shoes as far as what this next month looks like for you.
Yeah. So I think that, I mean, like obviously, draft week and those a couple days are, that's where it's going to be really busy. I think there is probably going to be a couple weeks leading up to it though, where it's going to be a little bit more quiet. At least as far as like, guys I got to watch and stuff like that. It's going to be a little quieter. I could start on 2027 guys, which I might do. I might do a little bit of just because I don't know, I can't help myself, but I think that, the next couple weeks, as far as like getting taped down and stuff like that, it's going to be a little bit lighter. And then it's going to be just a lot of, trying to figure out which guys I need to break down, going into it, especially, from a bear slant and stuff like that. They're talking about as many, defensive linemen, safeties, centers, the whole 9 yards, those sort of positions, trying to figure out if there's anybody that I, still need to break down and all that fun stuff.
So you say that you start getting ready for the next season. How different was your top 50 board a year ago compared to what it looks like now?
Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting for sure because like, there's some guys up there like you're like a Caleb Downs or Jeremiah
Mhm.
Love or Ruben Bain, like guys like that were near the top of the board pretty consistently. But you're also going to see like I liked Fernando Mendoza in his Cal tape, but I'm not gonna lie, he wasn't my QB1 going into this, into the college football season. Arvell Reese wasn't on my board just because didn't have a super big role in Ohio State's defense until then. So, Sonny Styles was on my board, but at least off of tape, he was like a round two guy for me. And then, he took the big leap as far as instincts go. So, a lot of the top guys, like they end up like they're on my radar going into the season, but usually there are a handful of guys where they show the tools, but it's not all the way like put together.
Mhm.
So it does look pretty different. I'd say the top 10 is about half guys that were there before and half guys that weren't. But I think especially in like that late first round, early second round, that kind of range, it's a
Mhm.
lot of a lot of new guys, people who weren't on the board at all, or people who were in that day three range, and then they ended up taking that giant leap this past year.
When it comes to that leap, I always find it fascinating that it only takes like 1 year of data for someone to be like, "Hey, who's this guy?" to
Yeah.
now being like everybody knows. And I think Fernando Mendoza is a great example. I mean, people knew that he came from Cal, but it wasn't like this big name. But you go on a run like you did for my Hoosiers, and it changes everything. My question for you is that murky waters to only have that 1 year of data, or do we kind of see that enough in college because they're not there that long where that is enough where you can feel good about projections per se?
I definitely think there's a fine line for sure. Like there's some instances where it's like, oh, okay, this guy didn't produce at all, in his first 2 3 years, something like that, and then all of a sudden he comes out of nowhere and has a great year. I think that's something that factors into it, where it's like, okay, is this guy just a 1 year wonder? But I also do look too where at least to bring up Mendoza, where he obviously this past year was his best year by, like a significant margin, but he still showed like encouraging tools at Cal and he still had a pretty good season, all things considered. So I think where like that's something to balance a little bit where maybe the year before he didn't put it all together, but there were flashes there. Something like that, I'm not going to be as worried about. But if it's something where it's like, oh, this guy just didn't see the field at all in year one or year two, and then as a junior or whatever, that's when he starts to put together big numbers. Then that's you tread a little carefully for a guy like that. But I think there's definitely a fine line on that for sure.
I wanna touch base on Mendoza as well, but I want to bring it to Caleb Williams. You covered Caleb obviously when he was coming out. What's the difference between these two quarterbacks? Obviously, I feel like I know the answer is obviously Caleb was the better prospect. Is how much better, or do you agree with that, Jacob? As far as like these two quarterbacks, what is the difference when you are looking at these guys from like a GM perspective, as far as Caleb and Mendoza?
Yeah, I mean, and I agree. I think that Caleb coming out was the better prospect than Mendoza for sure. And that's no knock on Mendoza. I mean, there's a lot to
Right.
like there with him. I think that I get kind of Matt Ryan vibes with him,
Mhm.
where I can see he's got a good arm, but I love what he can do in the pocket. His toughness, his processing ability. Indiana ran a lot of RPOs. I think pretty consistently he was making good decisions on those. Just natural, really accurate thrower of the football. I think where Caleb kind of separated himself, at least at the collegiate level, was the arm talent really. And I think there's more zip on the ball, the ability to throw off platform, to throw on the move. Uh, I think is, that was rare for, you don't see a ton of quarterbacks like that. heading into the NFL pretty consistently. I think every once in a while you'll see a guy where it's like, oh, this guy's got a cannon of an arm. But I think Caleb's combination of ability to throw off platform, his ability to uh, deliver throws into tight windows, the velocity he has, the distance he gets, uh, and and the creativity too, I think is another thing too outside of structure where that's something that kind of separates him from say a Mendoza or other top prospects like Bryce Young or CJ Stroud when they were coming out. And I think that he's a little bit more polished than say like Cam Ward was coming out as well. So I'd say like though that arm talent and creativity is kind of what separates him, and he's a better athlete than Mendoza.
Yeah.
But Mendoza, he's not a bad athlete. Like he can move a little bit. He's no Lamar Jackson, but I mean he can he can run a little bit. So I'd say that that's a big thing. But I really like Mendoza. I think that he's got potential to be like a top 10 quarterback in the NFL if everything pans out. Might not happen right away because I mean that Raiders team that's a pretty big work
landing spot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty big work in
help
progress.
for sure.
Oh,
Well, yeah, I appreciate that, Jacob, sharing that because there's just levels. So obviously playing quarterback, and we really never know how these guys are going to pan out. Like as far as like you think this is like a home run, high floor, and you just it's the draft even at the top. But I want to shift real quick before we get into your draft because you had a 3-round mock draft for Pro Football Network that you released. So we have a couple questions on that. We also have a couple viewer questions before we get you out of here. But I saw you tweet yesterday about Iceman and the nickname. I want to get your official take. Like, is it kind of crazy that a Bears quarterback is making this much noise about like just trademarking something of his? Now, it's obviously not the Iceman. It's kind of passed down, but give me your take right now. Like, are you obviously pro Caleb, or can you see both sides? What's your take on the Iceman saga?
Yeah, so I will say that I mean George Gervin was before my time, but I'll hear stories, especially from my dad, where it's like, oh, I had he said that like he had a George Gervin Iceman poster in his room when he was growing up. He had a tremendous NBA career, so like I can see both sides of it for sure. I think that it's a little bit different, at least in my opinion, where Iceman didn't stem necessarily from, oh, Caleb Williams is the NFL's George Gervin. Like I think it's a separate thing in its own right. And I point to, how many guys have been Superman over the years. You're talking about Shaq, Dwight Howard, Cam Newton.
Caleb was Superman for a little bit too, yeah.
Literally, yeah, Caleb too. So like that's something where it's like, yeah, I think especially a nickname like that, Iceman, like that, it's not entirely especially, someone who's got like the, superhero kind of background or whatever. I don't think it's exclusive to one guy. The trademark situation, I don't know. That's beyond my pay grade, but I think Caleb's got the right to call himself Iceman, to be called Iceman, obviously. He fits the moniker. His playing style definitely fits the moniker. So, that's going to be, I'm going to keep calling him Iceman. I think a lot of Bears fans are going to keep calling him that too. But yeah. I don't know, no disrespect to George Gervin, but I think that's, I think that's at this stage, Caleb's earned the right to the nickname.
Agreed. And we wouldn't have this conversation if he wasn't, making clutch plays or having the season that he had last year. And that's gonna be tough to replicate, in the NFL, winning close games like that consistently, at least in 1 year. But for me, two things. One, I think there's a misconception. He didn't give it himself. Like he didn't call himself Iceman. That's the biggest like indicator that I feel like obviously I think Skip Bayless thought he did. A couple others did as well. So that did not happen. I think it was at the Giants game when it was kind of snowing for the first time through the season. And I think maybe even Luther Burden or maybe just his teammates in general. And then secondly, again, like Iceman is, I think Kyle Brandt had it last week, like a good segment where it's like that one is like almost passed down where I think multiple people can have it. And it's like, it's not really, you don't give it to yourself. It's more of like just given, right? It's like passing the torch. And so for me, I think that's what we have to treat this one as. But there's a difference. He's trying to make, obviously he's trademarking it, and then the Jordan silhouette throw, so that makes sense. I think if he didn't trademark it, it would not be a big deal. Vic, I know kind of your stance. You're pro
Get a trademark,
well?
man. That's the whole point of a trademark, right? If you want to own it, there's literally paths that you can go to own it, you know. So and the thing is this, you've had plenty of time too. It's not like, oh, George Gervin's is, you know, new.
I'm shocked he didn't.
Up.
Yeah.
I'm like, if everyone equates it to you, how did you not, as like a Hall of Fame basketball player, get that trademarked yet? So I think it's more of when you see someone, this is how I view it, right? It's like the man lost his girl or his partner, and now that partner is with someone else, and that man's doing stuff to the partner to make her happy or him happy that he didn't get to do. And he's like, oh, now I'm upset. It's like, dog, you were with her for all this time. You could have done those things. And so that's what it feels like. So I'm just like, hey, man, you had all the opportunity to go out there, get it, own it, and then it wouldn't even be a big deal. That's the whole point of a trademark. So, but the fact, we can all agree though, the fact that this is even a discussion means that we have a quarterback, right?
Yeah,
like
it's better than the other discussions.
Yes, prayed for times like this.
I mean, I feel like we've had off seasons where it's like almost the same conversation. Like, are we going like Nick Foles, Mitch Trubisky? Like, we just have had those conversations. So I'll take this any day of the week,
any day.
Again, keep saying this, but before we get to the draft, Jacob, I want to get your take on Kyler Murray in Minnesota real quick. I think it's dangerous. I think him and Kevin O'Connell. I wish Kyler was not in Minnesota. I truly do. Not that it could not work out, right? But I think there's a possibility where I think the NFC North just continues to get better. And that addition, I'm just not a fan of. I know some people are like, I'm not scared of Kyler. What are your thoughts on that addition in Minnesota with Kyler Murray?
Yeah, I look at that and I think, you know, the Vikings, I mean, as flawed as they were 9-8 with JJ McCarthy, with Carson Wentz. I mean, that it was, from a quarterback position standpoint, it's, you know, about as rough as you can get as far as like NFL starting quarterback plays go. But I think, you know, bringing in Kyler now, obviously he's not a flawless quarterback, but I think that it's an upgrade for sure. And I expect that he's going to beat out McCarthy for the job. Realistically, I mean, we'll see what happens, but I think that it's an upgrade at their biggest position of need. It does worry me a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, all of a sudden I think the Vikings are Super Bowl contenders. But I think that that's definitely a team that could win double-digit games in a season. And I think that was, you know, obviously the Vikings came in last place in the division. They were, you know, well, actually, did they? I think they, you know, they tied with the Lions. I don't know who actually ended up.
I think they ended up getting 4. I think Lions were 3rd.
Yeah, with the, you know, the tiebreaker. But like, you know, either way, like it was a flawed team. But, you know, like you said, you know, Kevin O'Connell is a really good coach. He's proven to get, you know, good quarterback play out of, you know, veterans, you know, for the most part, like guys who have been around, guys who can, you know, who know what the NFL defenses are giving them. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, you know, yeah, like I said, the Vikings aren't going to be like Super Bowl contenders. I don't believe, but I think they're going to be better. And I wouldn't be shocked if they're more competitive in the NFC North. I still think that the Bears have the better roster. I still think, obviously, you know, they have the better QB. But at the same time, you know, I wouldn't be shocked if, you know, they split that series again. And I think that, you know, the 1-1 from this past year was, I don't know, maybe a little bit of a week 1 fluke where, you know, the Bears were still trying to figure things out. And then they, you know, ended up blowing that lead. I think they could end up splitting that series in 2026, but I think it's going to be a lot more off of the merit of the Vikings actually being a good team. So we'll see. Obviously, being a Bears guy, I don't love that they brought in Kyler because that's, you know, I was kind of hoping they'd stick it out with JJ for, you know, another year and then, you know, kind of deal with the lumps along the way. And like, I like JJ, you know, coming out of Michigan for sure. He was, you know, he's a local Chicago guy. I got to see him, torch up my high school all those years ago. And I'm like, okay, this guy's going to play in the NFL one day. So I still have, that soft spot for him for sure. But, this past year wasn't very good. And, I don't know. We'll see on that front in the long run. But in the short term, I think Kyler's a big upgrade. So that's got me a little bit worried.
Speaking of
Well said.
trademarks, that's one that needs to get locked out quickly. You don't want people stealing 9 out there, since that's heavy coveting right now. So, man, I do feel
If he
bad.
was good.
Yeah, I said I do feel bad though. 1 year of just bad play, obviously an injury, then plus 1 year of bad.
I feel
play.
like
And now you are the face of bad quarterback. Like that meme
Yeah.
is used for all sports everywhere. That's tough.
Oh,
I just want to say I'm so thankful the Bears didn't have to like go through that. Like the Bears have had their fair share. Like Mitch Trubisky, I remember those memes. We've had it. Justin Fields, but like if we drafted McCarthy for some reason and had to go through the 9 saga as well, like that's just something so Bears like esque to happen to us. And it was honestly quite funny to see it happen to Minnesota. But I think they're going to be very, very good.
Yeah.
I want to make a shift here. We'll get you out of here, Jacob. I know you're a busy man. So you obviously we have the article linked in the description. So you guys can check it out on Pro Football Network, but it is a 3-round mock draft. And we're going to obviously focus on Chicago. You had them at 25. They stayed put. And this is my question for you. I think it was Zion Young, the Missouri edge that you took there. I want to know, in a perfect draft, who is the perfect guy at 25? And this is where you can't trade up, but like be realistic as far as who might be there. But if it was the perfect night for round 1 in Chicago, who are you taking if they are there?
Yeah, so I'm gonna cheat a little bit, and I'll go with one of 2 guys. And one of them actually was available on my board. I just wanted to, go from a different angle. So Peter Woods, the defensive tackle out of Clemson, is a guy that I really like there. I think that in this class specifically, there are a lot of talented defensive tackles, but I think as far as this group goes, Peter Woods is the one guy where I feel pretty confident he can be a 3-down starter pretty quickly. Like everyone else, has some flaws in some capacity to where it's like, all right, maybe they're better suited as a rotational guy in year 1. Then you can kind of go from there. But Woods, I think he has the chops as a pass rusher and as a run defender to be able to succeed right away. I think, the testing was all right, but I think the quickness and the fluidity you see from him on tape is really good. Good spatial awareness against the run, uses his hands really well, good arsenal of pass rushing moves he can use. So Woods is the guy that I really like as well. I think that, his 2024 was better than 2025, but that's part of the reason he's available in the first place. I think you look at what he can do. I think that's such a big thing with prospects is, a lot of people focus so much on what they can't do that, they don't look at the strengths necessarily. And I think that a lot of the NFL teams are going to look at, all right, you can see what he can do on tape, the flashes of, dominating in the run game and, in the pass as well. And they're going to look at that and say, we can maximize those strengths more so than, we're worried about the weaknesses. But him and then Akeem Mezador, the edge rusher out of Miami, I don't care as much that he's an older prospect. I mean, again, that's part of why he'd be there at 25 in the first place. You're not going to get a flawless prospect, from whether it's on the field or off the field at that late in the first round. But Mezador, man, if you were 2 years younger, he'd be a top 10 pick in this class. Yeah. I feel pretty strong.
He gives me Bayless vibes. Like, I know it's completely different, but I'm talking about the age because I think he's almost 25, right?
Yeah, he's 25 already, I think. Right? Are you?
But I agree, his talent is much different than Bayless. But keep going, Jacob.
No, for sure. I mean, and like I think that it's night and day between the two.
I hope so. Can he catch kickoffs?
It's like I'd say sorry to Bayless, but he's talked so much crap about like anything.
Yeah,
crazy.
I can't believe. I used to feel a little bad until this past season, where I was like, "No way, is he talking like this?" Like, that's crazy.
Wild stuff for a guy who didn't even really play. But hey,
I know.
enjoy the Super Bowl ring. So
yeah. Shoot, but
That's all.
I can go on and on about that. I'll be here. I'll be here for like 3 hours if you let me just rant about Velus Jones. But
Separate pod, separate show.
yeah. Oh Lord, yeah.
It's good stuff.
The Velus Jones slander episode.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Jacob, I had a question though. So you talked about how the 1 year of data of seeing players get better, like a Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah.
Do you take that same light for players like a TJ Parker and a Peter Woods, basically all at Clemson, let's be real, where it seems like the guys who are going to be much higher up performance level didn't kind of meet that mark? How do you evaluate that? Is that a telltale sign that, maybe they're not, maybe the work ethic's not there in the offseason, or maybe, teams are scheming them differently because how dominant they were the year before? Because those are two names, particularly Peter Woods that you talked about and TJ Parker, that I've seen mocked in those late 20, early 30s. And so I'm curious to see, obviously you would take it with with Peter, but would you do the same thing with TJ Parker? Like, how's your thoughts on that 1 year regression?
Yeah, I mean, I'd consider Parker at 25 for sure. I think that it's definitely worth part of the consideration to where you have one season of, top 10, top 15 player in this draft class tape, and then another one where, maybe it's, if you're going purely off of just the one season, probably more of like second round, caliber player. I think it kind of evens out to that extent. It's something that again, I look at the flashes, I look at the strengths more so than, I don't want to say more than the overall body of work, but I think that there are going to be a lot of teams who talk themselves into, all right, yeah, the consistency wasn't there in 2025, but the tools are. And even if the tape this past season was more inconsistent than 2024, I think a lot of people are going to talk themselves into, okay, with the right coaching and the right system, we can, maximize it and make it look more like 2024. And yeah, again, I think with a player like that, I think, the interviews are key. And I think that, doing your research, talking to their coaches, like, hey, what was going on here? Why did the production drop with, with both of those guys? So yeah, I think that's something you need to do. If you're a team, you do your due diligence on for sure. Uh, it's worrisome to an extent. Like I wouldn't say, something like that is enough to where it's, it totally disqualifies them from being, the selection there. I think if anything, having those high of highs make it intriguing to take them late in the first round like that. But it's definitely part of a reason why their draft stock's fallen. And it's something you got to consider. So I think that's it's a little bit in the middle somewhere where it's one of those things, if balance between, all right, between the inconsistencies of it all and the strengths of it all too.
Yeah, it's a tough process to do all so much data. You guys have to decide. It's just crazy. That's why I love the draft, because it is obviously professionals, people, experts like you doing your work and whatnot. But when you look at the results and like how many misses there are, and then even like the GMs, you're just like, does anyone know what they're like? Are we all just in here guessing? Because that's what it seems like. It's just so much you have to take
so many variables.
Yeah.
I want to do a quick rapid fire, Jacob, to get you out of here. First of all, what would be the worst case scenario as far as if the Bears were to pick someone where you're like, oh no, and just in the first round, or position group, if you will.
Yeah, so I really don't want them to go with a tackle in round one. In all honesty, offensive tackle, I should say. I think that, I still have faith in Trapillo to bounce back. And I think that in free agency, you bring back Braxton Jones on a 1 year deal. You bring in Jedrick Wills as like a low risk, high upside type of guy. You have Theo Benedict. I think that's your starting battle at left tackle while Trapillo's out. I don't think that you need to invest that heavy in a tackle. And honestly, I think a lot of the best guys are going to be gone by 25 anyway. You're
normally are.
Yeah, both the Utah guys I think are probably going to be gone. Maui Noah out of Miami is going to be gone by then for sure as well. I keep going back and forth. I'm starting to think, Caden Proctor might just be better as a guard. I think that, he's a physical, freak as far as the size and the strength, and there's good burst for a guy that big, but I think as a tackle, just the agility isn't quite there. The hand placement is, it's a little bit delayed, and I think that's something that could hurt him outside more so than inside in the pros. Uh, and then if you take him out of the mix, then it's like, okay, are you taking uh, Max Iannaccio out of Arizona State? I mean, again, freak athlete, but somebody who's newer to football, natural right tackle. By the way, you have to go through the whole, the learning curve of moving him to left tackle in this case. Same thing with Blake Miller, in that, you'd be moving him over, more of a pro ready type of prospect, but, still, I don't know. So I really like, I'm never going to complain about adding to the offensive line. Like, I mean, Lord knows, as Bears fans, we've seen bad offensive line play year after year,
Right.
besides this past year. So, it's important to keep investing in that position group, but I don't know. I don't think there's a need for offensive line that early. I think tackle, they're in the short term, they'll be all right. The long term, I still have faith that Ozzy can, bounce back and, recover fully. I mean, Ryan Poles said it. I'm not a doctor. I don't have the medical opinion enough to dispute him, so I'm just gonna have to trust what he says on that regard. But yeah, I that's one thing where it's like, oh, they should go offensive tackle at 25. I can't get on board with that.
Yeah, it's tough. I feel like it's a tough year for tackles, because I feel like all the tackle ones, they keep moving. Like you talk about Proctor moving them to guard.
Yeah,
which he would probably be the biggest guard in the NFL, right? Because he is a ginormous human being. He is so big. So that'd be crazy. I would not want to line up against that.
Oh man. And then you had in pick 57 in the second round, you had Grayson, Halton out of Oklahoma, DT. And then I guess I'll say the second one because the Bears picked a couple picks later. I think you had, was it a safety, if I'm not mistaken?
Let's see. Let me pull it up real quick. That sounds right. Yeah, Halsey, AJ Halsey.
Oh, LSU.
Yeah.
So, out of LSU. So, how? Explain those those picks for me. Obviously, are you like, as far as safety goes? Because I see some Bears fans are like, man, we need a safety. We absolutely, that's like the pick. I don't think they're going to get some of the top guys like the Oregon safety. I think he's going to probably go a lot earlier than 25. But what are your thoughts on the safety, and why did you go defensive tackle first with one of those, with that second?
Yeah, so I think you can go in a couple different directions with those second round picks.
Right.
I think Halton is just a really good fit for what the Bears need to do along that defensive line, or at least what Dennis Allen typically likes up front. You're looking for, maybe a little bit smaller, but those explosive defensive tackles who can shoot up field, who have that athleticism to penetrate up the middle. And I think that that's something that was lacking, is just the consistent pressure at defensive tackle. I think Halton is, he's good value in like that late second, early third range. So, you bring him into the mix. I think ideally long term as a replacement for Grady Jarrett, if they do get him out of the mix. And I do think that, looking at historically the defensive tackles that Dennis Allen has gone through, a lot of them typically are undersized. They're not the biggest. They don't have the longest arms at defensive tackle. Like at defensive end, absolutely. You're looking for typically bigger defensive ends with, better play strength with longer wingspans, but at defensive tackle, that just isn't the case. You're looking for, explosiveness more than anything. You're looking for that short area get off speed, and I think Halton fits that 100%. So I think that's, as seamless as you could get as far as what Allen has proven to like there. And then Halsey too. I think that at safety there's, I'm with you. I don't think Thienemann's going to be there. I don't. McNeil Warren, it might be 50-50. Maybe he's going to be there, but even then, I don't know. I think, me personally, I'd rather wait until the second or third round to take a safety. I don't think there's as big of a drop off from McNeil Warren to a guy like AJ Halsey or Kamari Ramsey out of USC, or
Mhm.
any of those other kind of guys. Uh, but Halsey, like I think he would complement Kobe Bryant well, where Bryant's a little bit more of like the rangy sort of safety, the typical free safety. He can move around, covering the slot in the box and stuff like that, which is really helpful. And Halsey's kind of the same way. He's not as fast, but
Sure.
he's physical. He's got really good ball skills. He tracks down the ball really well. He's got a good sense of, on those deep passes, how to be able to get underneath it and make a play. And then, he was listed around like 220, 220 pounds during the season. He cut down to 215 at the combine, but still that's a muscular, that's a big safety. That's a guy who can, lower the shoulder and get a big hit. So I think
Yeah.
that him with, Kobe Bryant being more of a coverage first sort of safety, I think that having a guy who can tackle like that is very beneficial. Kind of like what they had with Byard and Brisker too, where, I think Halsey can provide a lot of the same things as Brisker, but, maybe a little bit more playmaking ability. So to be able to get that in the second round, I think would be,
Yeah.
very beneficial.
Do you guys remember Brisker's one-handed interception against New
Patriots.
England?
Yeah.
Like
Thursday
I
Night
remember
Football.
that one. I was like, oh my gosh. And then we really never saw
Never
something
saw
like
it
that again. Like we know and injuries. I love Brisker, but I was like, I just remember that player like, and like,
Concussions.
okay, this guy, he's gonna make that type of play. I was like, this is gonna be nuts for a second rounder. And then
He
of
had
course it just never.
flashes.
He did have
I
flashes.
mean, look,
He
his
was-
last game with the Bears was like, oh, that's the Brisker we were hoping
Yeah.
we were gonna get, and we just.
And I remember his
wasn't
first
consistent.
preseason game. He like stalled a drive all by himself. He had like 3 consecutive stops. I think it was like a deep, like a pass deflection, a tackle
sack.
for loss, and the sack. It was impressive. But I want to, because first of all, if they go safety first round, that's a lot of resources. Because obviously you brought in Kobe Bryant, so to invest in the safety position, I don't think it's a bad thing. I just don't think it's going to quite happen unless the board falls their way, of course. But we have one question here for you, Jacob, and then, or actually 2, and then we'll get you out of here.
Yeah.
This is from Dante Purify.
what's
Sorry,
wrong?
Vic.
No,
Switch
you're
one
good,
up
you're
on
good.
you.
There
This
we
is from Dante Purify on YouTube. He goes, how many starting first-round cornerbacks do you have on your board for the Bears at 25?
So this class is honestly kind of interesting to me, where I think you have 2 bona fide first round guys, Mansour Delane from LSU and Jermod McCoy from Tennessee. Even with the injury, I think McCoy is a pretty safe bet to go round 1. And then it's a lot of fringe guys, honestly. So I think as far as that position goes, you're looking at, okay, so Avion Terrell is my cornerback 3. I think that, but again, he's more of a nickel sort of guy. I think that at least at the next level. So maybe not necessarily the best fit for Chicago. D'Angelo Pons is my cornerback 4 out of Indiana. He's someone I have him in my top 30 on my board. I mean, say whatever you want about the size. I mean, his tape is just
So small.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
love him.
Yeah, tiny dude. Like again, it's like if you were 2 inches taller, like I think he'd be a consensus top 15 guy in this class. I don't.
What is he,
think
5'9", right? He'd probably be one of the smallest corners in the NFL, right?
Yeah, and I think that naturally,
That's-
like, yeah,
that's
him,
tiny.
him,
Not
yeah,
nine.
Can you imagine trying to guard AJ Brown like 5'9"?
Oh.
It's like,
dude, it's like I couldn't.
You got to be an elite athlete at 5'9".
Which he is, but still, that's tough.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be easy for sure, and like that's why I think a lot of people have him kicking inside a nickel, myself included.
Yeah.
But I still think he could be really, really good in that regard. But I think for the Bears specifically, you're looking at a lot of outside perimeter kind of corners. So Brandon Cisse out of South Carolina, I think is somebody where he has the elite level fluidity on tape and the ball skills to be able to make plays. If you want more of like a scrappy kind of perimeter corners, Chris Johnson out of San Diego State is somebody who could fit that mold as well. Really effective. I know in the Mountain West, the competition isn't necessarily as high, but one of the lowest passer ratings allowed of any corner in this class. Keith Abney, maybe a little bit more of like a day 2 kind of guy out of Arizona State. Same level of, scrappy, sort of competitive man coverage corner. I mean, he can play in zone, obviously, that as a lot of teams do, but I think that you're looking at guys who can compete near the line of scrimmage, guys who have those longer arms. Uh, Colton Hood as well. Colton Hood out of Tennessee. I think you're looking at a lot of those guys as fringe round 1, maybe early round 2 sort of prospects. Uh, again, I don't know necessarily if I'd go corner that early, but I wouldn't entirely rule it out because you're looking at, Tyreek Stevenson is in the last year of his deal. Uh, and, Jalen Johnson coming off a big, a year where he missed a lot of the year due to injury. You never know. Obviously hoping that he can bounce back and, revert to his, elite level of play, but there's always a risk there. So I think that, if you factor in at least like going back to when everybody was healthy, Nashawn Wright started over Tyreek Stevenson. It was Jalen Johnson. I mean, Kyler Gordon, kind of factored in because he was still coming back from injury in the nickel, and then it was Wright over Stevenson. So that alone makes me think it's like, all right, as a long-term option, I don't know if they trust Stevenson as a guy you can pay big money to after this year. So if they want to get ahead of the curve, I think a corner is probably more of a 2027 need than 2026.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But again, maybe, it's a situation like wide receiver last year where they want to get ahead of the curve with, what the Bears ended up doing with Luther Burden.
Right.
Now they found themselves in a position where they could move on from DJ Moore and it wasn't the end of the world. Maybe they do that at corner. So now I think there might be better value along the defensive line, but if they see a corner they really like, it's like, all right, well, they're getting ahead of what's going to be a need in the future. I can't be too mad at that.
What a perfect segue, because I think our second question here, excuse me, from Jeremy, and it ties into kind of a question I had, because looking at your board, you had 4 defensive tackles, I believe, go before the Bears picked at 57. So the question here is he wants to hear your thoughts on Katie McDonald, right? That's expected first round grade, I would expect. So love to hear that. But also, if you had your choice, take out Peter Woods, but you had the option of Katie McDonald, Lee Hunter, Christian Miller, and Caleb Banks, right? Which of those 4 would you find to be a perfect fit in this Dennis Allen defense? Who would you want the Bears to take?
Yeah, so I'll say, like, I really like Caden McDonald. I think that as a run defending defensive tackle, someone I want to be able to just plug in there right away and make an impact. I think McDonald's this guy in the class. My only hesitation is not even so much him as a prospect, it's just him as a fit for the Bears. Like I mentioned, like historically, Allen kind of likes those defensive tackles to be a little bit more explosive, moving up the field. That quickness that you see to be able to generate pressure up the middle and then open up things for edge rushers down the stretch. I don't know if McDonald's necessarily going to be that guy. I think he has some pass rushing chops for sure, and I don't think he's a bad athlete for defensive tackle. I just don't know if he's going to meet the threshold that Allen wants. So, in a vacuum, like totally independent of scheme fit, McDonald's my DT2 in this class. I think he's going to be a really good player in the league. He's going to be a really good run defender for a long time. I think the question with him is what's the pass rushing upside going to look like? If you think that he can develop into a good, like maybe not even elite, but like a good pass rushing defensive tackle, in addition to what he can do against the run, where he has the power and he has the physicality and the instincts to free his hands up and make plays against the run, then that's somebody worth taking in the first round. And like I have him in my top 30. Naturally, I think he's a guy who belongs in the first round. But I think that the pass rushing, the plan, the diversification needs a little bit of an improvement, and the upfield burst is something that can improve. So if I'm looking purely for the Bears out of those defensive tackles you mentioned, I mean, I think as a pure scheme fit, I'm taking Christian Miller out of Georgia, to where, okay, maybe he's not my top defensive tackle of the bunch, but he's my DT3, like he's still someone who's a very talented player in that regard. And, the reason I have him a little bit, beneath McDonald is I think that, well, one, Georgia, I mean, Georgia's an interesting case. They're just so deep along the defensive line. They just consistently, they can rotate guys, keep them fresh. That helps them out in the game, but as prospects, maybe they don't have as big of or as large of a sample size to work off of. Miller's a bit unproven as a pass rusher, but in the little bit he did get to show there, he looked encouraging. Like he's got some of that quickness, the ability to squeeze up the A gap or the B gap depending on his assignments, and be able to generate that initial penetration. That's really important for Dennis Allen defenses on passing downs. And he has that pro ready ability to defend against the run where, he's a squattier guy. He's physical. He can, square up to defender or square up to blockers rather. And he has that anchor strength to stand his ground. So Miller's a guy that I really like in that regard. Hunter and Banks also both very talented in their own right. I don't know how great the scheme fit is. I have them both pretty highly rated on my board as well, but I think as far as pure scheme fit goes out of those defensive tackles, Miller's probably the guy. But I mean, either way, wherever McDonald ends up going, I'm going to be a fan of his for sure.
Squattier. I love that term. Squattier.
A lot of people call me that on Twitter, so there you
go. Oh man,
throw that in the
bio. Jacob Infante, thank you so much, sir. Again, follow him on all socials. I think it's just Jacob Infante 24.
Yes,
or
sir,
just
yeah.
search his name, you'll find him. Check his stuff out, Pro Football Network. Pleasure, sir. Thank you so much. You're the best in the business, especially for the Bears. Thank you again, man.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you. And best of luck. I'm excited to see what you guys do independent. I'm stoked to see, what you guys are doing. And, the early reception's been really huge for you guys. So, I mean, I'm really excited to see that. I love it.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
It's fun, man. Just talking Bears.
So, I love it.
Good Enjoy. Thanks,
all right. See you guys.
Peace.
All right. Again, thank you to Jacob Infante. Follow him. I believe, like I said, Pro Football Network. You know him on Twitter if you're on Bears socials. Great dude.
I was gonna say, please check out, check out their site because I think their site is low key slept on. It's a really good one, especially for draft. They have compiled all the different experts mocks. You can see every mock they've ever done. You can go through there. They've compiled big boards. Their player prospects are really good, and of course, it's got Jacob's stuff on there as well. So
and not a lot of ads. I mean, there's like maybe one, but it's like it's not one of those sites where it's like you can't read it. Essentially,
it's
I just appreciate
slept
that.
on. I feel like it's not. A lot of people don't really talk about it when it comes to the mock season, but they've got everything you need over there. So please go check out their
Absolutely. Shout out to Jerome. Rare sighting Dave with no hat. Absolutely. Just took a shower and hopped on. But let's go ahead and get to our first ad break. Again, we have a couple of changes coming through. You're going to see we got a couple sponsors for the show, and I don't even want to call them sponsors. It's just people that we believe in, companies that we believe in that are supporting us, and we're excited to support them. So let's get to our first break, and then we'll finish up with the show.
Cool. Yo, before we keep going, whether you've been rocking with us since day one or you just stumbled onto us today, we see you and we appreciate you more than you know. First time here, drop hashtag new face gang in the chat right now. We're giving you a shout out before the show wraps. Welcome to the fam. You picked a good one. Are you an OG? You know what to do. Drop a hashtag OG in the chat and we're shouting you out too. Y'all built this thing with us and that doesn't go unnoticed ever. Seriously, every single one of you that tuned in right now, you are the real MVPs, not the players, not the coaches. It is you. We don't take that lightly. Now let's get back to the show. All right, we're going to get to it because we didn't have our break. Let's get to our first actual sponsor.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yo, real talk. If you're a true Bears fan, which means you've been through the suffering, you might as well collect the memories. Windy City Sports Cards has the cards from all your favorite teams and players, constantly updating inventory, and they actually care about quality and authenticity. No bootleg nonsense, no shady flips, genuine collectibles, and real value. They're building a whole community around this too. Box breaks, social updates, the works. Whether you're a diehard collector or you just want something to hold on to from the good times, go check out Windy City Sports Cards. Link in the description. Now let's get back to it. Couldn't have said it better
Absolutely.
myself.
Windy City Sports Cards. It's going to be 312 Sports Cards 1 on X and Twitter. Shout out to them. They are amazing. I'm excited to be able to partner with them with our show. And again, I see a lot of people saying hit that like button. That's the biggest thing. If you want to support this show, it's been unreal. This is our 4th episode for Bears Fan TV. I think episode 212 though altogether.
Yep.
We're not starting over. So I think this is 212, 213. But can't wait. We have a couple other big things on the way, especially with the draft. And I want to go ahead and reiterate, we still have the Bears season opener ticket giveaway. So 2 tickets to the season opener. All you have to do, you can check it out on Twitter. It should be also pinned on our IG, how to enter. Hit this like button, subscribe. You have to be subscribed to the YouTube channel to get an additional entry. And then we're going to let that one continue to be open. I think we're going to close it probably just before the draft. So you guys have a little bit under a month to kind of get that completed. Again, it will not include airfare at this time. It's simply going to be the tickets. So had a lot of questions in regards to that. But again, if you want to enter, check it out on Instagram, our Twitter, and of course, additional entries, hit the like button and subscribe to the Bears Fan TV YouTube channel. So, Fick, overall thoughts though. Love Jacob Infante. Again, I love the draft. We're getting so close here, and we have a couple more guests lined up that are going to be, I think, amazing to prepare for this NFL draft. Obviously, we don't know exactly what's going to happen. I saw a comment here. It was like, it was like me where I was like, I said the same thing about tight end. I just didn't think the Bears were going to take tight end with the first pick.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. That's the draft for you though. And you just rarely know what's going to happen. And Infante, who covers this thing year round.
Bless you.
I had to sneeze there. If you're watching on YouTube, you saw me leave the screen. Wow. Okay.
It was a good one.
I'm back. But yeah, it was a good one. I was looking at this light. You have the lights looking at us, and it was like there was no not sneezing here. So, but again, I'm excited about the draft. 26 days. Looks like Jeremy's already counting down. That's amazing. So, but overall thoughts on Jacob Infante?
Yeah. First off, hats off to him. Just being able to have all that information and pulled off just your dome like that is incredible. Like, sure, he may have been looking for like names, but you saw him. He's like, no, I know. Boom, 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 boom. And there's a lot of players, man. We forget this is 7 rounds with 32 picks. That's over 240 something picks each year. And then that doesn't even include the supplemental draft picks that are added on each round past the 3rd round. So there's at least 250 plus players that you have to kind of have a foundational base of knowledge on. Obviously not as much for the later guys as compared to the earlier guys, because that's what gets talked about the most, but still, that is a feat in itself. That is incredible. Now, when it comes to his takes, I'm aligned. I mean, I trust him more than I would trust myself. This is someone who looks at these players, has watched a lot of film, has done a lot of research on it. So if he says, hey, the best tackle that would fit the Bears defense is probably Christian Miller, I would probably align with that. Well, not counting Peter Woods. That's obviously who he wanted in his mock. But to kind of bounce back off of what you were saying earlier with the draft and why we love it is because there are all of these variables. There are so many things that you have to take into consideration that it's impossible to get it right all the time. And that adds in, as I throw in air quotes, like drama of the draft. And then not only that, it's not just the drama of the selections of the draft. It's then seeing, are those selections going to pan out? Because some of them pan out right away. And you're like, oh, well, we got our guy. Some of them pan out year 4. And you're like, well, we didn't think this was going to be the guy, but now he is, And then some of them never pan out when it looked like these were going to be the top guy in the class. So I think that randomness and kind of surprises starting from literally round 1 of the draft 4 years later, and it repeats, makes it super exciting and fun. A little sad if you got the wrong guy, but I think it's kind of like that. You don't know what's going to happen here.
Yeah, there was a comment here, says no one guesses the draft correctly. was sort of relaxed. I think he was talking to somebody, but I want to touch on the no one guesses the draft correctly. That's the beautiful thing. And there's a lot of people, I've had people DM me like, go out there and have a take. Like, you can be wrong as long as you're like cool with being being able to admit, yeah, maybe I'll, got that one wrong, that projection and never have, being able to admit and kind of not take yourself so seriously is so important in the NFL, especially if you want to cover the league, if you want to cover the draft, if you just want to be a creator, you gotta throw takes out there. Obviously, don't be crazy, nothing hot take, right? But and you can have a couple, but as long as you're willing to admit, kind of laugh at yourself, but also be willing to put yourself out there. Like, that's the biggest thing is like, you're probably going to be wrong, but if you don't have draft takes, like, you're never going to get anything right either. So it's like, be willing to be like, hey, I love this prospect. I've studied him. I think he can get to this point, and just stand on that. Right. And if you're wrong, you're wrong. But if you're right, that's the beauty of it. If you find somebody, a gem, right, and he actually comes to fruition where he's at plays at a high level or is just a good NFL player, at the end of the day, that's what this thing's all about, is just being able to cover players, project, have fun, and hopefully you get a couple of your favorite players on your favorite team. That makes it even sweeter. So for me, be willing to put yourself out there, take that risk, but just have fun. Like, the community at the end of the day, like the draft community, I'm not like the best. I feel like I love the draft, but there's so many others that are able to put so much time
there. Yeah.
So I lean on them, but at the same time, of course, I have my own takes. So I'm excited about it. We have our first mock draft, which I'm excited about next week's show, because I believe we're going to maybe have my dates mixed up, but we are going to do our first live mock draft with you guys, where we're going to do it. And then we're going to do like a viewers draft as well, where we're going to kind of all talk in the chat and just do a couple mocks together. So I'm excited about that episode. We do it every single year. But again, I just want to put that out there. Be willing to have fun, have your own takes. And at the end of the day, see what happens.
Well, let's be real. I can't remember the website. There's a website that tracks after the first round is completed. Basically, it ranks who is the most accurate, and they do it every year of anyone who's ever submitted a mock from an expert, perspective. It collects and aggregates those results. I'm pretty sure like every year, the highest hitting percentage, like who gets first, is low 30%. Maybe high 30%. So that tells you even the best in the business are getting 1 out of 3 picks correct. And the percentage drops off significantly past like pick 10. So they're probably hitting like 50, 60% through the first 6 picks. And then after that, it's basically a crap game, a crapshoot. You don't know what these people are going to get. For example, let's look at the Bears game. Crap game. I mean, it might as well be depending on who you selected. But let's look at the Bears last year. How many people had? I don't think I saw one mock that had Colson Loveland to the Bears.
That's what I'm saying.
Go back a year before. Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze, right? Those were actually mocked to the Bears. Saw that all the time, especially Caleb, obviously.
Yeah, and that was a dream scenario,
right?
That was that.
No
remember,
one
remember
saw the Falcons trading up for Michael Penix. That's how we ended up getting Rome. So it's
chaos factor.
There's a team every year that does something, and it's just like, sometimes it works like the Bears. Sometimes you don't know, like the Falcons, they're still figuring that out. And sometimes it doesn't work at all. So I think that is what makes it so fun. It's like, you're not going to be right because you are not in these GM's rooms and understanding how their boards fit. So I kind of, standing on a soapbox here just to say, like, that's what makes the draft so fun, because even if you feel like you've got a good understanding, you probably don't. And that brings excitement for a lot of these new teams, right? And I think also what's fun about the draft is we get to smoke the hopium again. It gives you something excited, and it's kind of like the christening of the new season. And it lets you know, okay, now we get a rock and roll. And so I think that's what makes it really fun, because it feels like you have a new team in the season to start it, because you do. So I'm excited. All of that to say, I love the draft. I love hearing people talk about it.
It's a crap game.
Hopefully it's not a crap game for the Bears this
I want to
year.
save that soundbite, so when the Bears have a crap game, we can start the show with that.
Yeah, we need to save that.
Oh,
that is funny. Yeah, that's good stuff. Here, I have a question for you. If you had to guess how this next year's draft goes, is it more likely or not going to end up being a really, really good draft like we saw last year, or a really, really bad draft. Like I would say, I don't know if Poles has really had a really, really bad draft, but
Yeah.
let's say closer to like his first year, 2022. Where would you
So
see?
last year is going to be very difficult to replicate, Fick. It's,
Yeah.
I mean, it was hit, high floor, hit, and we're still not even sure with Za, right? Za Fraser,
Right.
and even you can say Shamar Stewart. So it's that's going to be hard. That's going to be very, very hard to kind of get what we got, the value we got last year. I mean, even Kyle Monunge, right in the 7th. For me, I think it's going to be still. It's going to be in the middle of last year. I think it's going to be just maybe. So if last year was a 10, like, because obviously
I think
after the season, PFF, multiple reputable sites, analysts said the Bears draft was like the best in the NFL. It was that good. For me, so that's number 1 out of 32. I would say the Bears are probably going to be in that 13 to 17 range. Not because it's just the draft. It's not because the coaching staff, Ian Cunningham's gone, of course, but I think it's not really about the coaching staff. It's like, man, you just got to make sure that every player is so different, right? Some players may get drafted and they're like, hey, I made it. And it kind of falls off a little bit, right? That motivation, and they're not the same player they were in college. All these other factors, I can go through them all. I won't for the sake of time, but I would say 13 to 17 range as far as like the draft ranking. And that would be a win. That's a win. If you can get in that range this year, I think that would be productive for this defense, productive for this team, because they need that talent. But man, if they can somehow sneak into that top 10 draft class again, that's where I've said it a couple times. It's going to skyrocket. This team will ascend to probably a top in the NFC for a very long time, probably 3 or 4 years at least.
Yeah, I think the numbers are going to regress to the mean. It's just bound to happen, right? You can't. I mean,
especially in the turnover department.
It's not saying you can't, because, like, again, I bring this up all the time. The analogy of the Seattle Seahawks, like, they had like 3 really good drafts back to back, so it's definitely possible. But is it? Well, it's definitely possible, but is it probable? I don't know. I think this is my question for you, because I've kind of got an idea. What justifies a good draft for you? Does it mean, I'll give 2 examples here, that you get 3 solid starters, right? Or does it mean you walk away with 1 superstar, or something in between? Like for you, we have 7 picks this year. I think we have all 7.
Yeah.
What for you would you walk away and be like, you know what? That is the bare minimum for me to be like, okay, I like that draft.
Yeah. So you get 2 seconds, right? You got a first.
First 2 seconds.
Do they have a third?
Yeah.
I'm sure they have a third. But they have 4 picks in the top 100. So correct. For me, Vic, at the end of the day, I love a superstar, right? But you saw last year what some high level floor players, some starters, and some really good players. So for me, if you can get 4 to 5 good players,
I take that. Come
on. The Bears have superstars already, in my opinion, especially on offensive. Luther Burden, Caleb Williams. You have Joe Tooney, superstar. You have Rome Odunze,
right?
Superstar traits, right? Darnell Wright, superstar. The defense, I think you need a couple superstars. However, if they can just get some good players, and then that's where you could trade for a superstar. So here's the thinking, right? You get five good players, right? Where they're all high floor. Maybe one's really, really good. Not a superstar, but really good. That's going to help transform that defense. And then say you're cooking. You're like, 6-1, something like that. The trade deadline's coming up, and you got Crosby, comes available again somehow. Myles Garrett. You have some players that you can trade for a known commodity with your 2027 picks, maybe 2028 picks, where you can maybe, grab a superstar. However, if you can get a couple good players and a superstar, that's always great too. So for me, sure, if I had to choose though between one superstar and like 4 or 5 good players, I'm taking the good players all day, because football is like, it's such, look at Max Crosby. Although he can wreck games, especially last year against the Bears, where he wrecked the game. He did everything in his power to win, and the Bears still won, right? So for me, it's like if I had to choose right now in the draft, at least give me 5 good players, and then you could trade for a superstar if none of those hit in the draft. But I like the coaching staff. I trust them. There's been comments on YouTube here so far where it's like, man, I feel good. I trust this coaching staff. I trust Ben Johnson, and I'll say it, I trust Ryan Poles. He is continued to show that he can hit some home runs.
What's crazy is that I was doing some reviews looking at like the top 30 visits article that I put out. I was doing some research, sorry, and I was looking at Ryan Poles' drafts year by year, and I looked at it holistically, and I go, "Oh my goodness, he gets better." Like each draft had better players, like from a talent standpoint, and they've been on the no, not only better players, but also the volume that he was hitting on was higher. So not only is he finding higher talent, but there has been more selections of players like that. Now, I don't think he's gonna then even get better from last year, but it's kind of good to see in a way. In the same way you view a prospect, they get better year over year. You're like, oh, some of the intangibles are starting to learn. They're getting coached better.
Speaking of which, getting better and better every year. We didn't even talk about, I wanted to ask Infante about this, but Austin Booker, 23 years old.
Yeah,
I've seen him talk about it. We have seen so many flashes, Vic. I think this is a big year, right? Whether he's gonna have to show more consistency, but I believe the Bears probably are higher on him. I think Brad Biggs even wrote about it in one of his, I think it was his mailbag article that he puts out, and shout out to him. Great stuff. I think Austin Booker, if he can ascend into a high level starter, which I think he can, and I know some people believe even a superstar or a star pass rusher.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the type of development where it's going into year 3 now with him.
Yeah, 3 years. Mm-hmm.
It's like they put a lot of resources, and this is it, man. It has to pay off. And that's where you trust this staff. You trust. He also got injured last year.
Yeah, he did.
For me, Austin Booker is a guy that I cannot wait to see how he ascends in 2026. And I'm high on him, man. I'm excited to see, especially if they can get some more players around him, right? Whether it's a deep defensive tackle. Obviously they added some linebackers, Devin Bush, DeMarco Jackson is probably going to get a little bit more playing time. Of course, Sanborn. I know people laugh, but I love having Jack Sanborn. I know he's not like elite, but just an awesome dude to have on the roster.
He was a dog last time he was here. We'll see how he is this year, but
yeah. So I'm excited about Austin Booker, and I would say don't sleep on him. He's one of my favorite Bears to potentially watch in this upcoming season. So
I think that goes back to the discussion, though, right? With some of these guys take a little bit longer. Now, Austin Booker was a 4th round pick, so I don't think anyone was expecting him to come out of the jump and be super, super productive. But he's gotten better year over year. And so going back to the Ryan Poles thing, it's like in the same way that we give light to these players that finally kind of find their groove. I kind of have to give a hats off to Ryan Poles because it seems like his processes, right? He's taken some learnings, and each year he seemed to have a better draft. Now, again, I don't think next year's draft is going to be even better than last year's because last year's was pretty damn good. But I think it goes to the point of people saying you kind of trust the coaching, but also trust the GM. I feel confident that Ryan Poles will find at least, because he's done it in all of his drafts, 2 solid starters. But he has the potential to find 5. That will determine, how good the draft is. Did he get 5? Did he get 4? Did he get 3? Or did he only get 2? But I feel really good that he's going to get at least 2 because all of his drafts have shown that he's been able to do that. So that's why I'm excited, man, because I just feel like you can transform one side of the ball. You have the ability. So playing that numbers game is probably the best approach. Obviously, if you can get a superstar, get them. But if you can fill 4 to 5 of the areas in need, especially on that defensive side, which is the glaring weakness, this team has a chance to be better than last year. Maybe not record-wise because we'll have a tougher stretch of games because we have the first place matchups. But the team could actually be set up for more success, which could allow for further playoff success. So I'm excited. I can't wait to see what happens. And who knows, man? We've seen tons of these mocks, Dave. Obviously defensive tackle. Obviously, we've seen safety. That's kind of like the big ones, edge. What happens if they just go something crazy in the first round that we have no idea? What position here's a question for you. What position would you be like, what? I'm thinking of like how you were
be left tackle. Could be left tackle. I would be shocked, if they do that. I know there's been some momentum building where it's like I could definitely see the Bears like maybe left tackle is a little bit higher of a position on their draft board. So I would say left tackle. Another, I guess one that would be crazy for me is like if they went like offensive something, right? Like receiver, or they're not going to go tight end again, but receiver. I would say.
Would you be excited though?
maybe like
because I feel like left tackle would be more of like you're not really excited for that. You're shocked.
I'll be excited.
Would you be? Oh, you would? Would you be excited for a wide receiver?
No. I'll be a little disappointed if they went in the first. If they went second, I'm like, okay. But it's like I love Jade Walker too. Like I want to see what he can get. You draft a receiver, it's gonna hurt him a little bit.
That would be interesting, especially with all the needs on the defensive
side
of the ball.
I do want to take another break here. We got a couple more. We got another sponsor we want to highlight, and of course we have our Patreon we want to highlight as well. Before we kind of get out of here, I cannot believe we're hour and 10 minutes every single episode. We love you guys, but wow,
it doesn't take much.
It's impressive.
It is
awesome.
All right, let's get to break. You've been a Bears fan your whole life, and you deserve something special for that. Bears Fan TV's Patreon, The Den, is it. For only $1 a month, you could become a rookie Grizzly. Get Dave's weekly articles, merch discounts, exclusive content, and more. His actual brain on paper for only $1. And for $3, you'd be a veteran Grizzly. Everything in the rookie tier, plus early access to film breakdowns before anybody else knows they're dropping. Extra exclusive content on top of that. You're not waiting, you're first. And for $10, you'd be a Hall of Fame Grizzly. All of it, every perk, every discount, every piece of exclusive content, plus monthly calls with Dave and me. Personally, you got questions, ask them to our faces. We're building something special here. 1,000 members is the mission, and you are how we get there. Links below. Get in the Den. We'll see you in there. Hey, before we keep going, shout out to Chicago Sports Podcast. If you're not already locked in, these guys cover the Bears and the Bulls all in one place. Deep analysis, bold takes, and no fluff. And here's the part I actually respect. It is veteran owned. So when you're rolling with them, you're supporting vets who built something real. Plus, Illinois and Indiana businesses get a legitimate edge partnering with them. We're talking state contracting perks, federal incentives, actual bottom line wins. Smart moves all around. So go ahead and check them out. Chicago Sports Podcast, link in the description. Now back to the show. Absolutely.
Shout out to Brandon Trax as well. He's the host over there. Love that. Love what they have building over there. I think they just hit 30,000 subscribers.
They did.
That's the goal. That's the goal over here. But again, there's so much great Bears content. We want to share the love. Shout out to Brandon and the Chicago Sports Podcast for partnering with us as well. So super stoked.
Make sure to check out the revamped Patreon as well. We got a lot of good stuff.
That's the big thing.
Yeah, we're kicking off some stuff this month. Dave, I think you got your first article over there coming out this week. So
we're over 60 members. We had, I think, 1 or 2 join yesterday. We're going to continue to talk a little bit more about it. With us going a little bit more independent or independent in general, we did kind of want to push that a little bit more. You guys have already supported, but we're going to highlight it. And you guys have joined. We appreciate, again, over 60 members in the Patreon, and it's going to continue to grow. So, but if you guys want the best way to support, I keep saying, if you could stop, if you're watching live right now, which we have over 1,500 across all platforms, but if you're on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe. That's the best way, helps the algorithm. And of course, our Apple Podcasts. Again, we have a lot of listeners over there. Rate and review the pod, and thank you again for supporting that way. So,
and then one final thing, we will be bringing back. We're working on some of the slides, but we will be bringing back the Patreon shout outs for all of our shows. So we haven't forgotten about you.
Maybe
I know
next
that's
week.
been a staple of our show is to always give you guys a shout out, which you deserve, and so we will be bringing that back. We just had to get some stuff made in the back end, but really do appreciate everyone's patience who was in the Patreon, and we're excited for the new people that have joined as well, and for all the new stuff we'll be bringing to everyone in the Den. So if you want to join, link is in the description. Cool.
I think we have a couple questions here, and our shout outs, and we'll get out.
Yeah, let's do it. We do here kind of leaving. Jeremy was active in the chat, but he did say, gotta go, lads, go Hawkeyes. Probably won't win, but there's a Cinderella this year. Yeah, March Madness been kind of crazy. No real big upsets, I feel like, this year.
Iowa getting this far is crazy.
That's true.
Crazy, dude.
That's true. But I was looking at this Elite 8 now. They're starting to get it trimmed down. And I think the rankings are like 2 firsts, 2 seconds, maybe a third team. Like, it's not many Cinderella stories. Am I tripping?
No, I think every year's with the NIL, it's kind of changed just a little bit.
Yeah, because some of those good guys at like smaller schools, they get poached and go somewhere else, which helped IU win a football championship. So I guess I can't complain. Okay, let's go through here. We do have some OGs in here. Michael from across the pond, #OG BFTV forever. Really do appreciate that, Michael. And then we did
Thanks,
show this one already, but we got to, and also shout out to Michael for being a Hall of Fame Grizzly member and another Hall of Fame Grizzly member here as well. Jerome from Darien, hashtag OG, a rare sighting. Dave with no hat. Absolutely. Let's see here if we got some questions. And then we do have this one from Knights of Band 3790. What do you think of Jacob Rodriguez? I have seen, he's a linebacker from, I want to
Texas
say
A&M.
Texas A&M. Yeah. He has been mocked to us a lot, and he seems like a very good pickup. And I'll let you go deeper on this, Dave. My only, not really concern is how the Bears acted in free agency might signal that they don't view linebacker as a need, because you got Devin Bush. Obviously, you still have TJ Edwards. You picked up Nick Sanborn, who's probably your LB4. You technically still have Ruben Hippolyte. And you have am I missing someone? Bush? I feel like no.
Devin Bush.
DeMarco Jackson. So you have Devin Bush, you got in free agency, DeMarco Jackson, you got in free agency, and you got Jack Sanborn in free agency. So that's 3 linebackers right there. You already have TJ Edwards, and you drafted Ruben Hippolyte. So do I see them going 6 deep unless they get rid of Hippolyte or Sanborn doesn't make the squad? I don't know.
Jacob Rodriguez is pretty nuts. Like last year, he was the highest graded linebacker in college football, according to PFF. He had a 92.3 coverage grade, 94.8 run defensive grade, 93 overall. He did have a 13.9 missed tackle rate. He is 6'2". However, he's almost 24 years old. He's 23 and a half. I would say in the second round, right? Maybe if it's what he would be mocked at. Third would be interesting. I wouldn't mind the 3rd round pick there, but so PFF has like a percentage. He is the most drafted teams that draft him according to like fans. Yeah. Bears are at the highest 24%, and then 8% Steelers, 7% Bills. So you can see what he is a very popular name. I would not hate it. If it was in the 3rd or something like that, it'd be beautiful. I think
he's projected round 2. So would you?
So I'm saying I'm not sure if I feel about a 2nd round pick with him,
especially for linebacker 6.
Yeah,
I'm not saying he'd be 6 on the depth chart, but you have 6 linebackers now. You know,
it would change. Like, he would probably be.
No, he'd probably be linebacker
starting.
He'd be linebacker. Yeah, probably won't. If you're taking him in round,
you want him to start. He's a 2nd round pick. Yeah. That's typically the floor there. So I like Jacob. We'll just have to see how much you're investing capital wise.
I think that's the problem, right? Because you obviously want BPA. So I would trust if they draft him that they just view that's the best player available. But it's also in the back of your mind trying to understand, well, are there other areas of need? So I'm not mad about it because BPA got you someone like Colston Loveland and Luther Burden. Those were not areas of needs last year, and it worked, So if they decide to do it, I'm just feel that they got the right guy. But 6 linebackers. If they make that move, that means
if they take Jacob, Jack may be gone
or Ruben.
They haven't invested heavy except for Devin Bush, right? DeMarco Jackson, I think you can get out, but he would probably stay. Jack Sanborn would be the one where I'm like, okay, I would rather keep DeMarco Jackson over Jack Sanborn. So
yeah, for sure. Interesting. That'd be an interesting pick. Yeah, I do like that. What's the one position where there's so much that you wouldn't? How about this? We can end with this one. What's one position that would just piss you off if they took early? Like really, would it be wide receiver then? Is that kind of doubling down on the question before?
Yeah, kind of. Like really? I wouldn't be upset. I trust this offense. If I had to choose though to answer it, I wouldn't be mad with linebacker because I think they can get some youth in there in that room. Speed. They've already kind of added it, but I like Jacob Rodriguez. I would say one that would make me pretty upset if they went early.
Mine is quarterback because that's obviously not happening. But
I would say
running back, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good one actually. Because I wouldn't be mad about left tackle. I wouldn't be mad at safety, corner.
Yeah,
so many I would not be upset about. It's a tough question. I would say like punter would piss me off for sure.
Sure. Well, we already went high enough with round 5. I think so. I think we're good on that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe running back, but again, then you're probably getting a huge weapon. But you got Swift back there, so I don't know. I think the Bears, how I see it, is they're going to add talent, and if they're picking high, it's hopefully a high floor. So if I had to be upset about one, it probably would be linebacker because I don't think it's a premium position as much as like a corner
for sure.
And the other roles or there are other positions on the team. So
I think for me, it's going to be like I'm doing the needs per position chart. So whatever we don't need the most of, I'm probably going to be like, that would probably piss me off. So I think running back might be one. And this isn't a deep running back class. So if you're picking early, it's basically the two Notre Dame guys. You're not getting Jeremiah Love. I can promise you that. And then I can't remember his backup. But if you're picking someone that's not, but then also I feel like I can convince myself, Dave, because now I can be like, oh, Ben Johnson sees something that we don't see, and he's going to unlock this guy. So I don't know. It's interesting. That does make it fun, though, Dave, because I feel like we're going to walk away from the draft because of the data we've had that we've kind of talked about of like trusting Ryan Poles and then the trust we have with Ben Johnson. I think we're going to walk away from the draft no matter what. Even if we didn't like every selection or some of them didn't make sense, you're going to be like, yep, this team got better. Like you
sure.
I already feel that, and I have no idea who they're going to select. Do you feel the same?
Of course. Yeah. They better get better.
We're not used to that.
Otherwise, we're in danger.
Though. You know what I mean? Though we're not used to that. Like you go back 5-6 years ago, basically before Ryan Poles got here, even his first year, I didn't walk away from drafts, even if it was some of the guys I liked, where I was like, oh, I feel like this team is better.
Yeah, well, they're in a good spot. I like that they have that second for DJ is really going to help them, you know, huge. To add a lot of talent to this roster. It's an extra second. We had 3 last year. So you get 2 this year. It's nice, man. It's they've done a good job. And I agree, Vic. I trust this coaching staff and of course Ryan Poles, and we'll see. I love the draft. There's that hopium like you talked about. Yeah. There's nothing quite like it, man. I remember Caleb and Rome getting those guys. Luther Burden was exciting. Colston Loveland, I know that was at the time we're like, whoa, a lot of people are like, what? Yeah. But now you look at him. I mean, he's probably top 3 tight end. Hopefully, if everything goes right, he's probably top 3 in the league next year. And he's 21
I'll never
years
forget
old,
the
22.
live stream. Yes, I'll never forget the live stream last year, which you guys should check out for our live stream this year, first round. That's gonna be so fun of the NFL draft. But last year, because you were like a little bit ahead, and you just went. And I was like, oh, my God, who did we select? I would have never picked Colston Loveland either. But I'm so glad I wasn't the GM and Ryan Poles was, because they nailed that. So
he's amazing.
He's
amazing. That's the draft for you.
But that is the draft.
Again, hit that like button on the way out. We appreciate the support. A lot of great episodes coming. Next one is going to be next Saturday, 9 a.m. Very, very fun episode. Likely going to do our live mock drafts together with you guys. So if you want to be a part of that, subscribe, hang around. I was looking at it. About 65% of you that watch are not subscribed. So I know it's a newer channel. We're bumping up those numbers. But again, if you can, subscribe. Hit that notification bell if you want to know when we go live. But we are looking at like next Saturday, of course. And thank you again to Jacob Infante. Check his stuff out for joining the show and talking ball with us for about 40 plus minutes. So, Vic, anything else I'm forgetting before we get out of here?
No, I don't think so. Everyone enjoy your weekend as always. We'll see you again next week.
Absolutely. Bear down.
Peace.